Welcome to 𝙃𝙧𝙧𝙧𝙧 podcast today. Thank you for joining me to chat today.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm here.
You are? Yeah, we are.
Took a little bit, but we're here.
Yeah. Not for too much longer, I think, but we are right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For the moment.
So Mel, you were sharing with me that the Lord called you back to him a few years ago, only quite recently. Can you tell me a little bit about what happened there and perhaps, how your relationship with him has gone since then, how that affects your life?
Yeah, be happy to. I was living a pretty wild life. I was too old to be, but I still kind of was. And had been grew up in church, but grew up in a church and a few churches with really bad theology. I mean, we joke about it because I was raised in a Nazarene church, between 8th and 9th grade before high school. We switched to a Baptist church. The Nazarene church says, hey, look, if you're sinning when you die, you're going to go to hell. I go to the Baptist church. It says you're always sinning. And there were a few families that switched churches at the same time. We all figured we were going to hell, so we might as well live it up.
Okay.
And I did for several years. Mm-hmm. So you got to watch theology. You got to watch what your kids are being taught in Sunday school. Mm. Yeah, it's a big deal. So yeah, for about the next, 30 years. Yeah. I mean, I'd be like, okay, Lord, whatever. I'm going to try to be good now. But it was never quite, it's never good enough. So it was December of 2019, before the whole COVID business started. I was literally sitting in my driveway, which was in the middle of nowhere. All I had was like AM radio. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, all right, Lord, it's time to fish or cut bait. I mean, that's exactly what I said. I said, I get it. It's time to fish or cut bait. I get it. But I don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to show me, because I have no clue. And it was just kind of one of those things. I was like, all right, I don't know what I'm going to do. I know I got to do something. I don't know what. I knew about Noah's Ark. I knew that God had created the world, but no relationship really. Just kind of called out to him when I was in trouble type thing, mm-hmm. which was a lot. And I turned on the radio, and of all people, it was Jan Markell on the radio.
Wow.
And I started listening, and I was like, yes, this is it. This is it. All right. Thank you. And I started listening to her, I would see who she would have on her shows, and I would start listening to them, started reading my Bible more, and ended up, I was watching a prophecy update thing, and it shows this little address at the end. It was like, and it's in Bakersfield, California. I'm like, what the heck? Which is only like 70 miles from me. Went and checked it out. It was Rock Harbor Church, which is Pastor Brennan Holthouse, an amazing teacher, and have been there ever since. And I showed up with some crazy questions. Now they're crazier, but they are biblically based. So, and just have been kind of on that path ever since. Just growing, learning.
Yeah. So Jan Markell, she's a fabulous prophecy watcher and teacher. She's a really good one. She's a really intelligent lady to listen to about all of these things. I love listening to her. So your church there that you went to, Melissa, were they teaching on end times? Were they teaching on biblical prophecies? That's something that they were already doing when you arrived?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Hardcore. Most churches, they kind of call our pastor the pastor of doom and gloom.
I see. Right.
Which he's not. It's our blessed hope.
Amen.
But we do keep up, on eschatology, very in-depth teaching. I have to drive 70 miles to get there. I mean, these days you can't expect to have a church right next door necessarily that's teaching God's word. So, and I live, believe it or not, in California. I live in what's called the Bible Belt of California. It's a very conservative area. Mm-hmm. And, a large county, lots and lots of churches. I couldn't find a single one teaching eschatology. So, I have to drive. And there's people that are driving farther than I am. I hear stories all the time. People, are driving 100 miles to church, and we'll do it as long as God allows us to. Mm-hmm. So
Mel, you were saying that you were at this point in time where you were kind of toing and froing with God, and you got to the point where you thought, like, this is make it or break it. And then you started hearing about end times, like biblical prophecy being fulfilled. How is it that brought you closer to the Lord? Like, what is it about that made your relationship with him closer? To my chagrin, I was learning, and when COVID hit, it just started. And I don't mean the tribulation. I know we're out of here before the tribulation. Mm-hmm. Okay. But I'm like, we just started hardcore. It just hit worldwide. And I mean, I just knew. Right.
And I which a lot of people did. It wasn't, some special knowledge I received. I talk to people all the time. It's like when that hit, we knew it was the beginning. Whether, I didn't know anybody that died from COVID or anything. I kept seeing these numbers, but I knew something was up, and it was worldwide, and it was time I better start studying. I literally, though, I kept having all these people around me, and they were so excited about the rapture. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? I just kind of wanted to hang on to life. Okay. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me, Lord? Why aren't I more excited about the rapture? I have this thing. I want to see my grandkids grow up. What's wrong? And, I prayed, for a solid month. Okay. That he would get me excited about it, because I wasn't. Wow. And I am now. It was an answered prayer. It was, God will answer prayers, and that was within his will. And I wanted to be excited about his coming the whole time, learning more as much as I could. But I didn't have that excitement, that joy, and I wanted it, and he gave it to me. And it was definitely from him, because I'll tell you right now, it wasn't me.
That is amazing. So you feel like even though you had these thoughts and plans for here in the world, like that shifted at some point in time to being able to see and look forward to the promise of eternal life, and that actually transpiring sometime soon. Like that really was a change that came about inside your heart.
That was a big, now I knew stuff was coming, mm-hmm. and I was staying in my Bible. I was learning. God had been working a change in me, but I just was not excited about the rapture. Mm-hmm. I just wasn't. I don't even know how to, and when people now, they're telling me, it scares me, especially younger kids, my daughter's 7 months pregnant. My daughter-in-law is 9 months pregnant. My youngest and her husband want another mm-hmm. baby. And, they want to have kids. Mm-hmm. And I hear a lot of parents are upset with their kids because they don't, it's like, they don't get it. They don't get, this is our blessed hope. I'm like, yeah, if it took me, I'm 54 years old now. It took me massive amounts of prayer to want it. You know what I mean? If we knew what heaven was like, everybody would, mm-hmm. I know we get some descriptions, but everybody would want to go right now. And God does put us in this, I think we're, okay, yes, we want to live. Satan's he's the murderer, right? Mm-hmm. So I think God puts that in us to a point, but we need to let go. So I don't freak out as much when I hear people, I'm not excited, because again, it did take prayer. It took prayer.
Right.
To be.
Yeah. And it is a supernatural spiritual process, isn't it? Because it's not obviously this is an event that we're expecting, that scripture has prophesied, that Jesus said was going to take place. And, but yet it's never happened before on the planet like it's going to happen. And so obviously it requires faith. And that's not something that can just come from your own mind, your own thinking, your own processing. It is something that is spiritually given. Spiritual things are spiritually discerned. And so I'm really encouraged, actually, Melissa, by your testimony of actually you were aware that this is a promise, that this is real, and you could see that this is coming, but yet you were aware that there was a gap, that you weren't actually necessarily longing for it and looking forward to it, but you wanted that and you just asked the Lord for it, and he supplied that. He supplied it to you after prayer. So I was just watching this morning a video, Mel, and it was on WVW Broadcast Network, and it was just a prophetic roundup, really. And I'll just quote a section of that and then ask you about it. So he was quoting about all of the things that we can see prophetically being filled in Scripture, and he said, we can see a one world government, one world economy, one world religion, mark of the beast technology, Jews returning to Israel, the third temple preparations in Jerusalem, the red heifers, Israel surrounded by her enemies, Israel being prepared to be deceived by a false Messiah, a rise of anti-Semitism, global famine, plagues, wars and rumors of wars, earthquakes, the rise of apostasy, the rise of false Christs, humanism and hedonism, the rise of false prophets, gas and gold being discovered in Israel, promotion of pantheism and the worship of nature. And he said, what is the statistical probability that all of these things are occurring right now? So, I mean, that's a big list, and I believe there is a lot more. But in terms of those global elements that we can see coming about, the beast system arising, the beast system from Revelation 13 arising on a global scale. I believe this is unprecedented, what we're experiencing right now. What would you say, Mel, has been the most impacting of what you've seen in the prophetic fulfillments that you've learned about coming about?
Pick one.
Right.
It's a convergence. I don't think that I could choose just one. We do see the rise of the beast system coming. We see a digital currency that looks like it will be implemented next year.
Yes.
That's going to change things.
Actually, if you could talk about that and share a little bit about just that, Mel, that would be great. What is it about this digital currency? What's happening, and what does that mean from what you've learned?
Well, the digital currency, obviously, it's not going to be like Bitcoin or some of those others that are basically are not tracked and traced. The digital currency that they want to bring in, it tracks everything, every single purchase. Now, they're selling it in such a way that, look, it's going to help with crime. It's going to do this and that. There won't be any, behind the scenes drug deals. It's going to help our economy because obviously we're printing money like it's going out of style in the U.S. I think I read somewhere that it would take us something like 75 years to repay our debt if every single person in the U.S. gave their entire salary for those 75 years. And then we might be able to catch up. To give you an idea, if I borrowed $5 for a million seconds, it's something, it's a few hours. If I borrow $5 for 32 billion seconds, for a billion seconds, it's 32 years. To give you an idea of how much a billion is, and yet we are billions in debt. So, yeah, if you want to borrow money for a while, just ask if you can borrow for for a billion seconds. You get to pay it back in 32 years. We are so far in debt that they're selling it this way. But in this currency, every single purchase, and they can do it almost like China, not almost exactly, in that you will get a social credit score. So even if you have the money in there, if they decide that you are eating too much meat, they're trying to get us off meat. It says it in the Bible, basically they will. They'll just deny it. if the government sees that maybe you're using too much fuel for your vehicles, it doesn't matter if it shows that you have money in there, they can cut you off. It's tracked, traced, no more, paying somebody to mow your lawn $20. Every single transaction tracked and traced. For us, we still have, in the U.S., I know you're in Australia, but in the U.S., we have our Second Amendment. They're going to try to do away with that so that if you have this social credit system in place, you won't be able to purchase again. It's a way to get around the Constitution. You can have a gun. We're not getting rid of the Constitution, but you know what? If your social credit score isn't at the right level, you just won't be able to purchase. You just won't have the money there. So they are, and I guess furthermore, it's not just the U.S. The U.S. is going to a digital dollar. Several countries have already gone to a digital currency. Ukraine is all a digital currency. Several countries are. Europe is heading towards there. I think the UK is planning on having theirs in by next year as well. Basically all of Europe. It's the beast system growing. It's the beast system, the financial leg of that, where basically they can just turn off your money and you won't be able to buy or sell.
Yeah, which is necessary for them to introduce the mark, isn't it? Because that is what they will limit. The buying or selling will be, you will not be able to access that if you do not take part in whatever it is that is the mark of the beast. So on that subject, Mel, what have you learned about the mark of the beast and technology related to that and what you can see in the world today?
Bless your heart. Okay. Yeah. How long is this show? So the technology is there. It's in place. In fact, whether it is a tattoo or an implant, they have both. Okay. Mm-hmm. The mark, I guess it translates as tattoo. It could very easily be a tattoo. There are electronic, digital tattoos. They're pretty amazing because people who don't like tattoos, they can literally, I've watched them do it through Accenture's, the one that's got the big kind of market on it right now, and their World Economic Forum. They can actually, the tattoos, you can change their color. You can make them not show. You can make them move. You can basically do anything with this tattoo. And it actually inserts nanobots that basically connect you to the cloud. I mean, you're walking your phone. If you look at Nokia, they've been talking about this for years. We have this whole thing, I'm not as on the Neuralink as other people seem to be, just because I think it's too invasive at this point. Yeah. When it would be extremely easy to just, like a Cracker Jack tattoo, you can apply it yourself. It goes right on the skin, much like a nicotine patch or something like that. And I'm only familiar with that type of technology, maybe a little bit more so because my daughter is a type 1 diabetic. So 15 years ago, they had a way to inject nanobots into your beta cells to make them transform into glucagon cells so you could produce your own insulin. At that time, you had to go in and reload on the nanobots. Now they have graphene oxide, the technology, where it basically draws the power from your body and they can it's a great conductor of electricity. Again, it can just draw it from the body itself, so they never stop. And what these little tiny microscopic, they just go right on the hand in this tattoo. And again, you can make it look like you don't have one. You can make it any color, any picture you want just by basically thinking it. They could connect you to your phone, to the cloud, all kinds of crazy stuff. And I think that how easy is that going to be to just then go ahead and connect you into your banking system? Everything is going to be on there. All your vaccination records, all your medical records. Again, it's, it can be a cure for diabetes. It can be a cure for lots of diseases. I don't think it actually will, but they'll sell it that way, and plus too, there's going to be a lot of us disappear. Mm-hmm. So people are going to be very afraid. Mm-hmm. And hey, what better way to track you than to have this sucker on you? And that way we'll be able to come get you if you disappear too, or whatever they come up with. But it's there, and it's banking. It's all of the above. It's all your medical. It's everything. Mm-hmm. Right in there, and as simple as a Cracker Jack tattoo.
They may have heard these being referred to as quantum dot tattoos. Is that the same?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And this is readily available technology, ready to be distributed at this point in time?
Oh, yeah. They've been working on this for a long time. Mm-hmm. And with quantum technology and quantum computers, Geordie Rose does a lot. He's not a good guy. Mm-hmm. They've got the technology. He actually says it himself. You can watch him talking about it, where he actually will feed information into his quantum computers. And he is given, supernaturally, according to him, more information on how to build these. And this is the type of technology that, before quantum computers, of course, are huge things, but technology, it can, they can be used for kind of like the brainchild mm-hmm. of this AI and stuff that is just easily inserted either on or in your skin. And it's been available a while. It's not new. Like I said, 15 years ago, they were talking about using it for my daughter with diabetes, and I absolutely no. I had enough church to know, mm-hmm. We're not doing that. So even though I knew it wasn't, it just did not sit well with me.
Yeah.
But the technology is there, and it's been there.
Right. Well, I mean, there is so much more that we could go into, Mel. I would love to have you back again, because there's so many elements of biblical prophecy we didn't go into, such as the one world religion, what's happening with the wars right now, especially what concerns Israel, and pestilence and famine and all of that sort of stuff. So I would love to have you back. But before we finish today, I just would like to ask you, Mel, I mean, learning about all of these things that are coming on the world, especially the revelation of the beast system and all of that kind of information, how has this news affected you? Have you had to process things like fear or grief about these things? And if so, do you still experience hope in the midst of it? And where and what is that hope? How does that work for you?
I went through my grieving period in COVID, because I knew we were at the start. I didn't know how much longer we had. Mm-hmm. I still don't. But I did. I went through a grieving period, and I don't consider it like a bad thing. Mm-hmm. God has blessed me. I grew up in the United States in the Reagan era. Okay, God had blessed me, and I kind of grieved for what was lost. Mm-hmm. And that was at the same point that I was praying for God to make me get excited about this. I don't grieve anymore. And yes, I am excited. There is grief for those people that just absolutely are not getting it. Of course there is, but God is merciful, and there will be people saved in the tribulation. So I pray for those people, especially loved ones, family members. I've left them things. One of them won't talk to me anymore because I sent him a book. But, it's there, and that's kind of what I have to, Lord, you know what? If they don't go when you come, I pray that they'll accept you after we're gone. Maybe they'll see it's real. And we know that there are many, many saved in the tribulation. Yes. It kind of bites for them because that's a bad deal. But that does give me hope, and God is gracious, and I have asked him, there have been certain things I have asked him for, that because God tends to kind of come in at the last moment. If you notice through the Bible, he kind of comes in right at that last moment a lot of times. So if that's the way it's going to happen, we could see a lot more. So I have asked a couple things that, if he doesn't come very, very soon and we have to see some really bad things, I have ask not to go too hungry and not to be too cold because I don't like either one. There have been certain things that I have asked for, and that if I die before he comes for us, that he'll make it swift, because I'm kind of a sissy lala. So, yeah. And I guess that we're not going to be here very long. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we could be for a little bit longer. We just don't know. Mm-hmm. And I do take, I put extra food out for my dogs and extra water, automatic water. I'm not going to worry about them. I don't want to stay to take care of them. But I've done little things to kind of, I guess, put out Bibles, left Bibles in my classroom, left the 10 Commandments in my classroom. I've left tracts. I've left them around various places, sent them to various family members. That's kind of, I guess, do what you can do and let go. Let go, because there's nothing here that you're not going to have 100-fold in him. There's no reason to worry about your house. There's no reason to worry about what you're going to eat. There's no prepare. Don't be stupid. But at the same time, let go. Mm-hmm. You're going to be taken care of. Jesus might come at the last minute, but he always comes. He always showed up for those. Throughout the whole Bible, he's going to show up, and he's going to show up. It could be at the last minute. Mm-hmm. Before the tribulation, but it could be, things could get a lot worse. I haven't gotten hungry yet. I don't know about you, but it could get a lot worse. So, yeah, I just pray that he'll strengthen me to handle if it does. Like I said, I'm kind of a sissy lala. So I'm not really big into pain and things like that, or going hungry. That's just not my bag. So I am, I'm hoping he comes before those things start.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, at the end of the day, keeping your eyes focused on the truth, no matter how hard circumstances are right now, or whether they do increase, that he is faithful, he is coming, he said he would, and he's going to fulfill those promises. He has the best track record. So we can trust that, and we can have hope and faith in that, and know that, he loves us. So always go back to that. If you're in fear, if you're in anxiety, then there's something you're believing that is not true, because the truth is he loves you. Perfect love casts out all fear. So we do not ever need to be in fear. So thank you, Mel. Thank you so much for sharing today.
Thank you.
I appreciate you so much. And I love your posts on HC. If anyone would like to come and see Mel's news updates, she posts them pretty much every day. You can see her and everybody else. It's great. We love them at www.𝙃𝙧𝙥𝙖𝙧𝙧𝙧. So come and join us there. We do have an Apple app now, as well as our Android app, so you can find them there. If you would like to be on this podcast and share your own testimony with me, then please message me on 𝙃𝙧𝙧𝙧 Club, and we will get in touch and have a conversation. So God bless you, Mel, and thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again.
All right, you too. Take care.